Mike Rayment, how you doing, brother?
Hello, everyone, by the way.
Yes, hello. Did we offer you a coffee?
You did. I'm okay.
You're okay.
Drunk way too much caffeine already today.
Where did you come in from?
I came in from Walthamstow. Well, Black Horse Road.
Oh, Walthamstow. How's Walthamstow doing nowadays?
It's
Friend of mine lived there.
It's up. I think it was up and coming. I think it up and came. And
Is it came and gone now? Yeah.
yeah, it's come and gone. Yeah. Now everyone's going to Leighton, and it's good. I like it.
How long have you lived there for?
I've lived there about 6 years. So I managed to get in just before the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite good. So just me and my wife got a little flat there, and managed to sort of hunker down during lockdown. It's quite nice because it sort of feels like it's not. You're in London.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
but you're not in London.
Just go that little bit further out, and everything comes a lot easier.
Yeah. And but we're on the Black Horse Road end, which is nice because the other end is what they call the village, which is where you have to have kids called like Jocasta, and they say, "Come on now." No, come on, otherwise we won't get your mung beans.
Right,
right, it's all that, and they're like, and I don't know if you saw in the news, there was that thing about Gales. They've built a Gales there.
Gales?
The bakery.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they've put a Gales in, and it's caused this huge controversy because everyone likes their...
What?
Like locally sourced, like organic.
Oh, right. And this is just along one road.
This is like one road in Walthamstow that gets all the headlines, and it's basically, And
where are you from?
I'm from Watford.
Oh, okay.
So not too far.
Did you grow up? You grew up in Watford?
I grew up in. I was actually born in Scotland, and I moved down when I was about 3 or 4. I lost my accent, and we moved to Watford. So now I sound like this.
So are your parents Scottish, or you just lived up there?
My mum's Scottish, and my dad's from London. They met up there, and then decided that it'd probably be nicer to live.
How do you
live in London?
Describe yourself? Do you say comedy writer or producer? What do you call yourself?
I think probably primarily producer. Producer and writer.
Yeah.
Probably like most of my working career has been as a producer in comedy, TV, entertainment. But I've sort of more recently started branching out into got a bit more confident with my writing.
Yeah.
I do quite a lot of writing on Have I Got News For You.
Was there any producer or writing in your parents? What was their professions?
No, none at all.
Nothing,
my dad's a detective. He's retired now, and my mum was a primary school teacher. So I don't know. Like, I'm incredibly undisciplined.
Did you ever see the police force in your life?
For the purposes of this podcast, no.
Oh, okay, right.
No, genuinely, I actually didn't. Although, where I grew up in Watford, a lot of my mates, because my dad was a copper, also a lot of my mates are Asian where I grew up, and unfortunately, statistically, much more likely to get pulled over. Right. So when we were going to the woods, it was like, oh, Mike, you need to drive.
Yeah.
Because then we don't get pulled over. And then when they do, we'd have a little routine. So then my mates would go, oh, Mike, you're going to be in so much trouble with your dad now. Yeah. And then you just wait, and then eventually they bite, and they go, well, who's your... They go, oh, Detective Inspector Rayment. They go, oh, it's the Gov's son. And then they go, oh, all right, see you later, lads, on you go.
I was in the gym a while ago, and I reckon somebody came in, I thought, he looks like a copper. I thought he looks like a copper. But anyway, I accidentally ended up talking to him. I went to the change rooms afterwards, and he was sat there, and I spoke to him. And we were just talking. He said, "Oh yeah, my dad, he was in the police force." So I thought, I could see it through you. I could see him.
That's amazing.
I worked at a couple of Freemason events for some reason.
For what? Doing what?
Just
you can't
waiting or something.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say.
A little red dot appears on his forehead.
But it was weird because I remember the first time I did it. Like all these guys, they all had the same look, and they were dressed in these same kind of cheap, beaten up looking brown suits.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going? What? And they also had this. I don't know. They had this look the way they were sort of scanning the room. Right, and I was like, oh, they're all coppers.
Yeah, right,
it's just that's what the thing is. I was like,
I was in Winchmore Hill.
And they had a bit where they said, and now we are going to introduce the Pearly King and Queen.
Oh right.
And these people came in. They were
in the East End, sort of. Pearly King.
Yeah, but this was in like Surrey.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know what, they got lost, I don't know where. Right. But they turned up and they walked the length of this big, huge room and everyone applauded.
Yeah, it's weird.
And then there was a section where we had to leave and we weren't allowed in. Everyone had to leave and go outside for about 45 minutes.
I looked into the Freemason thing about 15 years ago, and there was a big one is it Mason Hall? They've got it in, just to see, I don't know. Anyway, help me get ahead. And I contacted one, and he obviously meant to respond to somebody else, but he sent it to me by mistake. And nothing weird, but he just said
any odd attachments.
No, but he did say masks, he said he said I've got somebody interested.
Make sure the Carcosa and the Yellow King. You know what I mean? Dear Yellow King, thank you for your email. Yes.
No, he said I've got somebody interested. get back to him quick because I think he's seriously interested, something like that. And the other stuff, but I just thought,
And is that then I get really like paranoid because I would be like, oh, did he do that on purpose to kind of
a bit more
sound me out?
Is he honest? Will he say sorry? Yeah.
I'll go, I think you've emailed the wrong person, or just to say, yes, we're looking into you.
Yeah. It's like we all have a friend or someone we know who we think might be a spy. Like everyone knows someone who they think they suspect. Everyone knows someone who says
he's always quiet in the room.
Yeah, quiet. And I go, I kind of work for the government. I'm off to Nicaragua next week. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, after a few years, you go, I don't even know what you really do.
Yeah. I know someone like that, and he works in Pimlico, which again is a huge giveaway.
I did know someone that was a friend's brother, and always seemed to be out in Afghanistan.
Yeah, so Rory Stewart. So he came on Have I Got News for You, and this was before
the TV show, or the podcast.
He came on the TV show a few years ago when I was a producer, and we booked him. It was I think he was still a Conservative MP then, or he just quit, and it was before the podcast, before he got really big. But we did a lot of research on him, and on him before he came on. So the team, we'd look into him and just see is there anything we can bring up, anything funny. And he spent a lot of time in Afghanistan.
And interesting backstory.
And when we met him, before the show, you always go in to brief the guest, and we went in to brief him. And I'm not joking, he sort of like did this crazy thing. He sort of backed up into the corner of the room, and it was like we came out, and Danny, the other producer, he's like, I have no idea what it's like to be a spy, but that felt like he was like, it was like sussing all the exits. And,
really?
Yeah.
Honestly, yes. He was out in Afghanistan during the initial invasion. He also then became a governor of one of the
town.
He became British governor out there for a while. He speaks Pashtun.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he's done a lot of work. Who doesn't?
Yeah. I always look at it on Duolingo. Always pick up a little bit. It's good to have a bit of conversation in Pashtun.
Yeah. Well, it helps to buy a newspaper. But and also did lots of work for like the Foreign Office, like consultancy work. So yes, he's probably a spy or has done
about
so.
it. Yeah,
that's it. I should qualify. We made a joke about him being a spy at the top of the show, and apparently it made him really angry. So I realised I probably shouldn't have brought that up, but it's out now.
Honestly, have a look into his background.
If you find me in a suitcase in Pimlico, I just want to know I did not put myself in there.
With an orange in your mouth.
Yeah.
Two shots to the back of the head, pennies in your eyes. Yeah. You get suicide.
It's a tragic accident. Yeah.
Well, I worked for John Lewis, and I remember I was fitting a fridge and in this posh house, and we just got chatting to the woman because it was an inbuilt fridge. It took a while to put in, and the husband, he was the guy that created some sort of surgery and speaking. And I said, we spoke about the family, and the wife was talking about her son had just joined MI5. And I said, "Oh, wow!" I thought, "Can you say that?" And she's like, "Yeah." It's not a secret. Like, he has to go to work. I did try to get out information about what did he do. Do I have to qualify? And then she wouldn't say anything. She just backed out the room slowly. No, she didn't.
My mum was she was at some lady she knew, a friend, let's say. A friend. And in the loo they had a thing she was reading, and she started reading it. Washing her hands. And it was a death warrant from the IRA to her husband.
Oh God!
Oh wow!
Where they said they'd held a court and found him guilty and sentenced him to death. And here's the notification.
Well, this is
very polite. They are right. They do things formal. They're very formal. Obviously, they got
yours sincerely.
Whole bureaucracy there. There's a whole sort of management thing. Putting you through now, sir. Just your IRA. Yeah, I need to speak to your manager. So yes, and it turns out he was Undersecretary to Northern Ireland or something, so he'd been put on the kill list.
Oh God!
But he was like a civil servant. He wasn't. I don't think he was elected,
right? Yeah,
MP or whatever. But but just because he was in the Irish office.
You say they framed it?
Yeah,
that's great.
Just because he thought it was funny. To be fair, he thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, on the Salman Rushdie scale of death threats, is that the funny end? Is that the amusing end?
Enough time passed that you can now find this funny.
It was post Good Friday agreement. Right, so I think he was. The heat had gone out of the market a bit, basically.
I like it that he kept it though.
My mum and dad have they got this book I put together at school when I was 5, and it was like when I was about 7, and it was sort of highlights of my work from across the year, and we were looking at it the other day. We got it out, and there's this big letter, and I'm like, Mum, why have I written a letter to Jerry Adams when I was 7? And it turns out what happened is everyone in our class had to write a letter. It said, write a letter to a famous person like your hero or something, and imagine what you say to them.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Watford, so everyone wrote to like Harry the Hornet or like the captain of the football team or like whoever was famous, like Chesney Hawks.
Yeah.
And then I get up and read mine, and it's, Dear Jerry Adams. And it's the most pompous. I was the most pompous little prick as a 7-year-old, because it's like, how can you look yourself in the face each
it was
morning?
a complaint letter.
Yeah, and I went to a Catholic primary school as well, so it's very confused.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
It's very confused.
Yeah.
But it's having. I really have a dig at him.
But do you remember at the time being annoyed at the IRA?
No, I don't.
Had you just seen a programme, or you must have been something on that day or the day before?
I suppose. I suppose.
Or I suppose he was in the news all the time. So
Early 90s.
Yeah,
so it would have been, you know, in the news, and I'd obviously taken it to heart.
I was going to say, back in the day when they still had the squeaky voice, they had the weird, when they dubbed over.
Oh, you weren't allowed to hear their voice.
You weren't allowed to hear his voice because his voice was so powerful that if you heard it directly, you would obviously be completely under his. It'd be like sort of Gandalf, and you'd be
really?
enchanted by him, and then suddenly leave and leave your life behind, and then go to the woods and join the militia.
They did that amazing thing on. Was it not the 9 o'clock news? Steve Coogan did it. He was playing someone from the IRA. And he'd take helium.
Yeah.
Oh, and then do it, and they're sort of,
Sinn Féin is a legitimate political organisation.
I'm glad. Do you know that was actually pretty good. If you're going to commit to the
I knew somebody who actually bullied him, like 2 women. I can't say who, but
Are we talking about Jerry Adams?
Yeah,
or Steve Coogan.
Oh, sorry, no, but Jerry Adams. They used because I'm half Irish and I grew up in Belfast. So those people there said, we used to play knock down his house. He was like, I can't say anymore, but I don't want to kick all the dust up again. You never know how much it's settled. But
500 years, we're trying to put it to bed.
He was like, this is bullying me. He's quite quiet.
If this podcast was responsible for the return of the atrocity.
Yeah,
the troubles.
A documentary, and they just zone into this moment. A security camera up in the corner.
Yeah.
When did get off this subject? When did let's go from paramilitary back to comedy.
That's a real one show segue. Anyway, falconry.
Who was I listening to? They were talking about how much the guy got paid. What do you call the guy that creates the intros? What would you call him? Not a musician.
Visuals or the
composer. Sound. Yeah, the composer. Yeah, and they were saying he got £8,500 for creating the jingle for the One show, and all we basically do is say one 4 times. One, one. It's on paper. He must have been taking the piss.
That's amazing.
That's the first time I've ever actually thought about the One show thing and realised that they are lyrics to it, and they just say one.
Yeah,
I've never thought about it. Some things, I actually have this ability. I have this superpower, right, where I can just like choose not to let things go into my brain.
Yeah.
Like it's like nope, not letting that go. I completely block like anything. Like
I just like the guy
adverts. I just choose to be like I kind of just switch off. And I know because I watched the first 2 or 3 seconds and I'm like, nope, don't need this, switch off.
Yeah.
And then so I know the first 2 or 3 seconds of the advert, but I don't know what it's for.
When I was in the cinema a couple of months ago, there was an advert came up, and I only see adverts in because I don't listen to the radio, I don't TV. So the adverts come out, and I'd forgotten about adverts because I'm so used to just not watching them. And one popped up, it was a McDonald's advert, and there's a really good classical song I like, and it's from quite a dark bit of an opera.
Yeah.
And they used it in the McDonald's. The guy starts singing it just at the table about how wonderful and I thought, that's so out of place. You ruined that song now because it was so out of place for a McDonald's advert.
And now all you're going to
I can't. It's done. It dissolved this thing.
Yeah. It's interesting though what you were just saying about the not like taking stuff in, because that's a huge problem now for TV. It's become this huge thing, and all the channels and commissioners are talking about it. And it's I read a thing the other day. It was really depressing, saying Netflix now are asking people when they write a scripted thing, they ask them to put in a descriptive. So if someone walks into the room, it says, hi Steve, I'm here in the room, or things like that, because people are sat at home
because no one's watching what
giving it their thought.
You can't keep up with the lack of attention is just getting quicker and quicker. Because I spoke to a guy. So if you think of adverts, people aren't watching them. It has to be TikTok-sized adverts on TV eventually. And he was talking about when people are scrolling. And, this has to be on the left because most people's eyes go to the left. And you're dealing with quarter seconds of people just looking down. Nobody's sort of reading it.
Yeah.
And he said, that's why, because I said, everything has to be really quick. He said, it's gone past that now. He said they had to realise the brain registers things quicker. So, if you ever seen, it started happening about 5 years ago where you'll have, whatever it is, about a car, and it's a, you know, Ferrari, blah, 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 and it have somebody going, or an expression. He said, because you pick up on expressions quicker than you read. So that's why you'd have somebody going, because...
is that why the thumbnail? You're talking about
people start doing silly faces on thumbnails. So, it's a horror film. Because they, on the scrolling, your brain will pick up on the emotion quicker than the logic of a sentence. I thought, you can't...
Like film review, it annoys me when film reviews do that. They're always like...
Yeah. But no, that's the thing. They're taught that because it registers. Your eye sees that quicker than it sees letters.
But also it sets the tone, I feel.
Yeah.
Video sometimes.
Yeah. But that's what you're dealing with. So now you go, right, now there's a minute and a half advert. You go...
It's sort of a little bit depressing when you just want to make something creatively interesting. And then all of a sudden there's all these guidelines that I think that filters in.
I don't think you can compartmentalize the brain. I think if you think quick there, then... You know, with the buying electronics, you just think, easy in, easy out. I'm not having enough. But then I think, well, that surely has to apply to sort of dating and relationships. You know, it has to filter through to everything. You can't go, well, I've got no attention span here, but I'm fine here. I think eventually they cross over. So then you do end up with internet dating with like, no, yes. Oh, it didn't work out. I'll go with somebody else. No. So I think
is that what dating is now? It's just people pulling faces.
I hear, yeah, maybe on their expressions that top off.
Yeah, you know. I'm so glad I'm not part of that. I'm so glad I've. But
it's mental, isn't it? It really, when you think about the whole thing of just like no attention span, you go, that's mental. Like, how do you? And especially, like I said, if you're creating things. Yeah. But I always said, though, it has to flick back. So I've always said about like doing face-to-face things here where we don't edit things. It's one camera and we have a long conversation. I think fight back. Like, I think the brain naturally wants this.
I don't know. In theory, the fact that there are apps out there that you can download that have thousands of people who don't want to have sex with you, I think that's, I think this is a step forward.
There was a guy.
Progress.
I spoke to a guy.
This is
having it confirmed.
This is what the future looks like. Yeah, and it's full of huge databases of thousands of people who confirm that yes, they are not like romantically interested in me, as I suspected.
I know a fella, and he's telling me,
great. I'll make it a lot easier. If you just need everyone who didn't want to have sex with you. Yeah.
It just I suppose that's a good filter to, isn't it? Because you can just narrow that down to like the 2 or 3 people, basically, who are on board with the idea.
Yes, maybe at a push. No, that's just the categories you need.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
just
like
talk to somebody. I said this. I used this as a barometer that destroyed my life when I knew a TV presenter, very attractive and a fantastic TV presenter, about 23 years old, and I spoke to her, and she's a lovely person, and she literally said to me, "Oh yeah, I've been internet dating now." She said, "You're not going to like this." I said, "What?" She, I've been doing internet dating." I said, "All right." And I said, "But why are you internet dating?" And she said, "I'll never forget it." And she just carried on talking, but she said, "Where else am I supposed to meet somebody?" And then I was like, oh my God, even somebody like her, the sentence, where else am I supposed to? So I said to her, well, you know where your parents met? Yeah, those places. Like wherever that is, wherever people dated before the internet. But the question, where else am I supposed to? As if like nobody dated before the internet. And I thought, God, the question, she's like, where am I supposed to? Well, talk to people. You can't do that. Work, can't do that. But just the question, I'll never forget that because her saying it, where else am I supposed to, like she's struggling to meet somebody. But yeah, I knew this guy and he was telling me his dad told him, he said, because he was in after World War II, he didn't go to war, but he said, oh, it was great. He said there was about 20 women for every man. He said, and they were all back then desperate to get married. Like you could not get married. And he said, when the war was over, there weren't a lot of men. There's just women everywhere desperate to get married. I thought, God, weigh it up. Yeah,
pluses and every
20 million have to die. Your dating options are quite.
All of a sudden, the market's opened up.
But really, think about it. If like you come back from war and there's no one around and you have to, in the era of having to be married, you go, it was all like a sweet.
Maybe Putin's onto something.
Yeah. Like I said, plus you're not all messed up. I didn't know everyone.
Yeah, you're one of the people that has got shell shock.
Yeah. I've got PTSD. I'm not going to be waking up at night screaming.
Even the men that did come back were no used to.
For war reasons, obviously.
Not all the other reasons.
Normal stuff. Normal waking up at night screaming. Yeah.
Right. Listen. So your podcast. What's the podcast called again? The specific.
It's called In the News This Week.
In the News This Week.
Which is it was inspired by the start of the show, the first sentence. So say,
I've got to say, I need to compliment you with a once in a life compliment and viciously attack your co-hosts.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, okay.
And I'm smiling.
Wait,
I'm
wait.
smiling.
This is why you got me here.
Wait, what?
Yeah. No,
This is
work
where
out.
you rip off the backboard and it says GB News.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
We will have the Andrew Tate statue
they
in his bathrobe.
Yeah, I'll get it.
With a cigar, obviously.
you were talking about, right, it was the last show you did, I think. It must have been after the election one.
Yeah.
There was one more. Has there been one since the election? American
Yes, we
election?
done. We did. We did up until Christmas. I think we had two or
you've
three
had
shows.
one. Oh, since,
Yeah,
I don't know if it's the last one. But anyway,
Yeah.
you were talking about right wingers briefly right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you said one of the funniest things I've ever heard that will go. It goes second. It's the second funniest thing because it's off the cuff and because how short it was and how punchy it was. But nobody laughed, and I thought that is criminal.
Story of my life.
And I thought, did they hear what he just said? Listen, the funniest. You can't beat the funniest thing that I've ever heard because it's to do with the situation, right? So you got lots of funny situations, but it was a one-word bit of comedy that can never be beaten anywhere.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, but it was when George Michael went into the side of Snappy Snaps with his Range Rover and put a hole in it.
Yeah, yeah.
And somebody that can't be beaten, because the British public are fantastic, somebody had gone up and wrote next to it with an arrow, wham. And I thought, you'll never beat that. One word.
That made me laugh.
One word. Right. Yours was two words.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, that's right behind wham. And what happened is they were talking about they should start, I hope it was, I'm fairly sure it was your mic.
It'd be great if it
They
wasn't.
said it was they were talking about they should maybe bring out a set of aftershaves, and you said and he went like Elon, and he went it could be called Elon's Musk, and then they carried on talking. I thought that is fucking genius. Was it you that said it?
Do you know what? I can't remember, but I'm going to take
maybe
it.
you didn't realise you'd said it.
Yeah.
It was you because your mic sounds the worst. And then you mentioned. Oh, but you were self-critical about something jokingly, and you said your own name. I thought, oh, thank God that is him. But they were all saying, that making money, blah, blah, blah. They could bring out a range of aftershaves. And he said, it could be Elon Musk.
And it went for nothing.
And it just passed. I thought, that is genius.
That's what I have to put up with. And I'm not afraid to say it to you guys if you're watching.
But that is, think of that. Bring it up after that. Elon's
it's a good
Musk.
It's a good one.
Perfect.
I do like, you're saying about the George Michael thing.
Yeah.
I do love it when someone's got a really quick one. I remember Frankie Boyle had a line and he said, I think he went to tweet it and then decided against it. But when Sean Connery died, he said they've shaken him, but he hasn't stirred.
Yeah.
But and again, just it's a one wiper.
That's
really clear.
That's just pure. That's pure inspiration. That's from
distilled down
that's
to
from,
pure.
That's transcendent inspiration. That's from somewhere else.
I remember Channel 4. I think it was Channel 4 years ago. They did a top 10 top 10 psychopaths, and it went up the list, and it was like real life, lower down, and then as it went up, and I think number 2 was.
Are we talking about general psychopaths or actual violent people?
I can't remember.
Just general like.
I think they got
it's a real packed field.
It might have even been TV or media.
Because there's plenty of people who aren't a danger to themselves or others, but there are.
But anyway,
so
number 2 was this is always a bloody Batman film I've never seen. What's the best Joker that everybody always says?
Heath Ledger.
Died.
Yeah,
Dark
Heath
Knight,
Ledger.
Dark Knight, that was it.
Yeah.
And they said that's a psychopath, like what he is, like in that film, he's the second best psychopath.
He
said that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But number 1, they said it's actually James Bond. He said because of he can just murder people, laugh about it. He moves on from woman to woman, and they said basically, and it was the Daniel Craig one they went to the best. He said
he murders people and makes jokes about them, which is kind of weird, and quippy puns over people he's just strangled, violently fought to death and strangled, and then he's strokes their hair and then says a little quippy pun,
electrocuted,
and then goes on.
Shocking.
If I got killed by someone, I want better than a pun. I want better than a shitty pun. I want someone to I want them to hire a writer. I want them to really think about it. I don't want to just go out on a fun. I genuinely thought when you said the biggest psycho, I genuinely thought you were going to say James Corden.
I was wondering where we're going to go.
I think they tried to be not serious, so
not real people.
It's media thing,
because that's too again.
It's like Jeffrey Dahmer.
That's just what I was wondering. I was thinking, okay, well, Fred West, wackiest serial killer, top 10.
There was a guy,
best gardener.
I just heard the other week there was an agent. it was like the Spice Girls agent or something like that. I think it's a Spice Girls agent. He went to buy a house in America and it was really cheap. And then he went through the thing and he was just about to sign it. He said, oh, by the way, he said, it was cheaper than I thought. That you'd never think in buying a house. You don't think like that. And he said, but anyway, so it was nice and it was nice land and all that. And then when he actually came to sign it, they clearly left it up to the last minute, but they clearly had to say something. He said, oh, it was cheap. I thought, yeah, I'll have it. Like, it's cheaper than I thought. Anyway, all the paperwork come to it. And I think he was a Spice Girls agent. And he said, we just have to let you know, this is Jeffrey Dahmer's house.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He said he still bought it. But he said, yeah, they just at the last minute, they didn't want to sort of put that in the paperwork right at the beginning, but they clearly had to tell you.
Roomy basement.
Yeah. Talk about the stains on the wall.
It just,
I thought, God, if you're not that way, you go, yeah, it was a shit. Like, it's a cheap room. But then if you've got any sort of emotional state, you go, I don't know. Let me think. Let me go outside and have a coffee.
Yeah. Do you do hallucinogenic drugs? Are you planning on taking acid in the house? Or,
any history of mental health problems?
Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do that. Don't take a trip. Don't take any hallucinogenics. Go to the basement for 8 hours. just...
People are obsessed with serial killers. So you make
some people go for that.
Put it on Airbnb.
Make in the era we live in, you could say to somebody, you people don't think like that anymore. That's a benefit. Stick that on the.
I genuinely don't get the serial killer thing. It just freaks me out. I don't get people's obsession with it. And there's so many podcasts about it as well now.
Yes.
I said there was a guy on one of these reformed criminals that was in the mafia that's now got his own podcast. I mean, there's loads of them. I didn't recognise the name, and he's talking about I'm going to school.
You guys are doing really well.
Yeah, I'm going. But it was funny because he was talking about the fact he said if I'd have realised that you could basically earn more money from playing a gangster than you can from actually being a gangster because you're mainly broke and now we're sort of all rich. Anyway. But he's turned his life around. Non-ironically, I'm going into schools and and he says they've got a crime convention, Crime Con, that happens, and it's in England, and he was coming over here. Now he was known for killing people with baseball bats, right? But he changed his life around, right? Yeah. So he's not, I'm not thugging. No. He's giving away signed baseball bats.
Okay,
I thought, right, have you really reformed yourself?
That's not showing.
Literally signed dining out on your own murder.
Yeah,
like.
You haven't changed. You're just monetizing it. I thought, God, because he was known for baseball. He's called like the batsman or something like that. Yeah. But he's signing, like giving away signed baseball bats. Literally the thing I used to kill people with.
Get a unique and signed cipher from the Zodiac Killer. Your own personal cipher. You go, you can figure out. You can try and figure it out at home.
The thing is, you laugh.
Well, if he signs it, then you. Yeah.
Well, signing this weird little thing and use his little symbol. I just watched Zodiac again the other day. So.
Great film.
That's good. Really good film. Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's his name? It's got 2 of the Avengers in it.
Oh, really? Oh, right. Yeah. Avenger. You always have to do an Avenger count on films now. Yeah.
Is that all died down now, the Avengers? Is that all gone? Surely that time travel is the last gasp.
Yeah.
You've used time travel.
Since then, the films haven't been doing well.
Oh, they're still doing them.
Diminishing returns, though, isn't it?
Who are the characters? The whole lot of them.
Well, they did Wolverine. Well, actually, Wolverine and Deadpool did quite good.
They're sort of running out. They started high, and then they had like Ant-Man, and then they sort of like, and then they had Wasp Woman, and now it's like Recycling Guy. It's sort of like running out of characters. They're sort of like
Shoe Man,
Shoeman. Yeah. He just repairs your shoe.
Yeah.
Somebody was pop on the video YouTube the other day. They were pointing out the flaws of like, why didn't they just do this? That would have killed him rather than all the other stuff. But they said, why didn't Ant-Man just go into Thanos' ear and then just become huge? Well, that's it, done.
Yeah.
So much.
Because it's a PG, that's why. That's quite
manga.
That's quite like
I love that though. I will lose days, months, years to going into Reddit forums, and because I'm such a big sci-fi sort of nerd, and like going, what if so and so like did this? What if this universe fought this universe? And people doing that, and it's the most pointless exercise.
Creating interesting questions of why didn't they just do it? I thought, of course. There was So you've just jogged my brain about Warhammer. Because I remember seeing it on your profile somewhere, and I thought, "Oh, right, finally, I've got somebody because I've got." So
caught one in the wild.
Yeah. I just lay a trap, a whole podcast just to get him on.
Yeah. So I've come out of my lair.
I remember about 15 years. I didn't know. I thought Warhammer had died, right? And about 15 years ago, I think I was in Lakeside in Thurrock, and I was at night, and my life came out of chaos. And I did nightclub work. It's all chaos. And I walked past this. It was at night, and there was a Warhammer shop in, and I thought, surely they went like 20 years ago in America, and they were just stood there. And I was looking at them, and it was like an 8 o'clock on a Thursday, and I thought, oh, that's all I want in life. Look at them. There's just 3 guys stood around. No trouble. That's that. They're happy.
Rolling some dice.
No money.
That's a critical.
No money.
No sex, but there's just that's the way to be. And then anyway, and I moved to an area.
You're just taking me to my happy place now.
6 years ago,
got a warm glow.
and I walked down the high street, and I thought, maybe it's a one-off. Is it a gimmick thing? And I was in the high street, and I see one, and I thought, oh God, there's one here. And then I was going through Barnet a couple of years ago, and I thought, oh, hang on, they're still going. I thought, but where's that's a retail shop. You know, it's expensive. Like, how are they earning money? I don't get it. So Warhammer, right? Can you just tell me, so what is it you do, a podcast?
So
that's even more confusing.
It is confusing.
Right.
So, well, specifically, me and my friends were into Warhammer 40k, which is specifically sort of set in space.
Set in space.
So it's called 40k because it's set in the 41st millennium,
right.
and it's sort of this dystopian future of endless war.
Yeah, right.
In the grim dark future, there is only war.
Right.
It's like the Masons. You say that, I'll just nod at you.
Yeah.
This guy knows.
Right, don't geek off because you'll lose me immediately. If nobody knew what Warhammer is, which I don't, I know it's a board game.
Great. It's a tabletop game.
Yeah.
And the way to think of it is...
Is it like Lord of the Rings?
It encompasses everything that's amazing about Lord of the Rings. So you've got this huge, rich narrative lore that you can... huge, rich narrative lore that you can get into.
Yeah.
Which is on a par... How's that? Yeah. Which is on a par with Tolkien.
Right.
But then on the other hand, you've got this creative element, which is you buy and build the models yourself. So you glue them together, you paint them, you can paint them in different ways. You can put anything you want on them. It's your army and you've painted it and you've put hours and hours into it and you're really proud of it. You take it somewhere and you look at each other's models and armies. And then the third aspect is the game, which is this complex strategy game. So it's sort of like a cross between Risk and chess, I would say, in terms of complexity and different outcomes. And so put it all together, it's just a nerd like my dream.
And not to be stupid, how does the game move along? You're not rolling dice.
You are rolling dice. You're rolling... No. Is that? Yeah. How's that?
Yeah, so...
This is why my mic on have I got an issue so shit. Because I don't know how to talk into one.
So what do you...
17 years in TV and I can't use a microphone.
Top trumps?
It's not cards. So you're using models. You move them with a ruler. So every model, you have like a tape measure.
Yeah.
So every model has a different measurement. So they move in inches.
Like chess mixed with Lord of the Rings, mixed with model building.
It's just... So the little guys, they might move 5 inches, but then you've got something bigger or like a tank that might move 10 inches.
Oh, okay. Like chess, they're limited by what they can move.
Limited by what they can move, and they all have different powers and different abilities, and you can... some of them synergize, so put them together and they become much stronger.
Wizardry,
Yeah, it's just... So
and was it originally a book or something? Or did it come out as a game?
It was originally... So it started by some guy... It was started by a guy, so Ian Livingstone, in the 80s, started it in London. And they were just, they heard about this thing called, it's about 1979, 1980. They heard about this thing, Dungeons and Dragons in America.
Right, of course, yeah.
And they just happened to manage to get in touch with the guys who started Dungeons and Dragons. And they said, look, we'll be your distributor over here. So they started doing that from there. They were literally doing it out of their flat in London while they were doing their day jobs. And they suddenly realised, well, this is cool. We could start making our own miniatures. And then they thought, we could start making our own game.
Right.
So they invented Warhammer.
So it's British?
So it's British.
Right.
The headquarters are in Nottingham, or as I call it, Mecca. Make my pilgrimage, my annual pilgrimage up
walking up the M25 every now and again.
Oh, no, Warhammer players don't walk. We don't walk. Round the table. Yeah. But, And
how do the shops earn money? Where's the money coming into it?
The money comes in from the fact that the models are intricately detailed and they are constantly being released.
Models. It's a model shop.
They cost more than per gram than like heroin.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, it's probably
more addictive.
cheaper. Yeah, it's probably cheaper to get a heroin habit, basically. A mild
you paint them, I guess, as well.
You paint them. You glue them together. You paint them, and that's where the beauty is. Everyone's got their unique paint systems or schemes. You can do what you want, and then you because you spend so many hours doing it. You're so proud. So it's like playing chess. You're bringing your own chess kit in, but you've painted it and made it. So it's really
and that's a lot of effort and time.
So you've got to be committed.
Can you make money from it? No.
Well, that's $1 million question.
Okay.
I mean, Games Workshop, who make Warhammer, they're now, I think they're worth something like £4 billion.
Jesus.
They've just floated on the FTSE 100.
Yeah.
Is it in Asia and things?
No, it's I think their biggest markets are UK and America.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Huge in America and Canada.
But is it over the world? Is it like?
But it's across the world.
Oh.
It's across the world. Yeah.
They've just done a deal with Amazon as well to make some. To sort of start developing TV shows and movies.
Yeah,
based on it. So that's the new.
Hang on, isn't there something with like big things with teeth called Warcraft?
World of Warcraft.
Oh yeah, is that not the same thing?
It's not the same thing,
okay.
but there's a crossover element, and I'll say a lot of people who like one like the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've done this deal with Amazon, and it's really and because there's so much lore, there's so much to get your
a huge, detailed, enormous.
For you, if there was a movie
versions.
coming out that for you, that would be like that would set you up.
TV shows, movies.
Yeah.
I mean, like so it's funny because I was into it when I was a kid. And then I got back into it thanks to. So I do a podcast called The Emperor Forgets, if anyone wants to listen to it. Right. So there's a saying in Warhammer, the Emperor protects, but we forget all the rules and we're always never sure what we're doing. So we called it The Emperor Forgets.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like so it's myself, James Farmer, who writes for like Frankie Boyle, Jimmy Carr, basically Michael McIntyre, any sort of top comedians. And then Tom Corrigan, who's also another producer in TV, and he's done things like Roast Battle.
Right.
Takeshi's
How
Castle.
often do you record that?
We do that every week. So we do it every Monday.
And what's the theme? Like, what's the show? What do you look at, or what's?
We sort of break it down. We look at because there's constant new releases. We look at the new releases, and then we look
release of what?
New models coming out, new characters coming out, new books. And then we look at the history of it, so like the lore of the game, and then also they have a thing called they call it the meta, which is because the rules change.
Right. Okay.
So the rules change constantly. So there's a competitive Warhammer scene. So the rules change around that. So it's constantly talking about how they've sort of like given units buffs or given them nerfs, or so we do that. But we're trying to come at it from a sort of our background is comedy, is panel shows. So we're trying to come at it from a sort of comedic, fun point of view, which we think there's a sort of gap in the market.
That's pure podcasting. That's some mates sitting around talking about the thing they like.
Yeah, it's so easy. You don't have to like research it.
Yeah.
We just come in, we sit down. We're all really good friends. We've been friends for years, and it's just really fun. It's just really easy.
So you play in front of each other. It's a physical thing.
And then we get the game out. Yeah.
So you get dressed in front of each other.
I mean, like you can't do it online. You have to be there.
You have to be
moving
there.
pieces.
Yeah.
How often do you actually play the game?
Not as much as I would like.
But what? How often do you?
It's kind of a running joke that the game is kind of very complicated and very tricky and takes 3 days to play. So all the other bits are cool, like the lore, and it is really fun, and like the model. I can get behind building, painting your bits and making it and customizing. There's creative elements of that.
Right.
The actual game bit is just madly complex and
really?
stuff. So it's kind of the thing that people don't put as much time. Yeah.
It takes like 3-4 hours to play a game.
Right. Okay.
You're supposed to take 3 hours, but it's so hard. And you come out and your brain's just
that's if you know what you're doing and know all the rules. So you don't have to stop constantly and just go through books.
Moving pieces around a bit.
Yeah. I think he can move. I think he's got this thing like
he's got special armor that blocks the armor piercing thing.
Reduce. I love that you know, like you're speaking my language.
Yeah, how do you know? Are you a secret?
Who's your faction? Come on now. Come on.
I used to when I was a younger kid. I built all these things. I did buy things, and then they all just fell apart because I didn't use the right glue. So I was very annoyed.
Yeah.
I had a rhino.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, like the tank. Yeah.
And I had some Space Marine stuff. And
fantastic.
Did you know that?
Adeptus Mechanicus dudes.
Oh, yeah, the Adeptus Mechanicus. Yeah, little
cool.
robot dudes.
Yeah, they look cool. All the bits.
Did you know they'd gone into space? Like Warhammer had gone into space?
Yeah, because I bought them models and stuff.
Oh, so it wasn't a newy thing?
No,
this is...
they do a fantasy one as well. So they do like the fantasy, like elves and orcs and battles and dragons and all that. And then they do the futuristic one. And the futuristic one is kind of the bigger IP probably.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
That's the one that's really taken off.
Yeah.
And then I think since lockdown, and again, I just painted so much in lockdown. Just stress painting. The world might be ending. I was of this weird world where we were, because like Have I Got News for You was the first show to sort of make a show in lockdown, to make a proper show in lockdown. People don't really remember this
because I remember they had the partitions, didn't they?
Well, before that, there's actually a series before that people I think have just blocked out their minds because it's so insane. But we were actually, because you remember lockdown was end of March 2020. Our first show was supposed to be like the first week of April. So we were like, up until then, we were like, we're going into studio, we're locked down. And then it became the BBC were like, we want you to make the show. We need, like, people need entertainment.
But didn't you do it via Zoom?
We did it. We sort of did it via Zoom. We did this test run.
Yeah.
Like a few days before, and it went completely wrong. And everyone's making it for. I was sat in my kitchen, and I remember like being on the verge of having a panic attack because it wasn't working, and everyone was expecting going by Friday, you need to have a show that goes out to the nation, and everyone's at home, and you're just like, none of the technology works.
Right.
No one's happy with this, and so we sort of spent 2 or 3 days just everyone, like a lot of people worked really hard to make it work.
Yeah.
But basically, what we had to do is we had to send guys to guests' houses.
Yeah.
So you have to send. So we had this thing as well because all the hotels were closed. You had to send people out, but they had to be able to come back within 1 day. So we couldn't book any guests like north of Birmingham. So so a guy had to drive to. So you go to like say like Miles Jupp's house, and then he'd
because you needed equipment on site.
You need the equipment on site, yeah, and you need to make sure it works. So he'd go up. He'd open the door and go upstairs, and then our camera guy would come in a hazmat suit.
Oh, come on!
And would put the camera down, set up the shot in front of the chair, leave the mic, and then go sit outside with like
that's mad
the sound on
for everyone.
And we did that for everyone, and even to the point where we had auto cue for the host, and the auto cue guy would drive to the house and sit outside doing the auto cue outside the house.
The show must go on.
Wow. Yeah, it was
really
it was absolutely so. It was like really weird and high pressured, and at that time as well, it was like no one really knew that it was all going to be okay, and it would just be us being at home for 6 months making banana bread.
Right,
this was the point when it was like, can it come through the windows? Are we going to be okay?
How many did you do like that?
We did a whole series. We did 10 episodes
of just going in.
Yeah. And it was genuinely the most. It was great to get it
10
out.
weeks, but we were in lockdown for more than 10 weeks. Did it just have because you had a gap between seasons? I did.
We had the gap between seasons, and then by the time we came back for the autumn, they were starting to let people out, so we were able to go back into a studio, but again with the partitions everyone.
Yeah.
But that first one was everyone did it from home, and we like. It was just great. So like I was literally doing that.
And it's not like you've got years to train to how to do it. It was just sort of like
no one knew. That's the thing.
Exactly
and after that, everyone developed better ways of doing it, and everyone. But at that point, we literally were like maybe one of the very first shows up on the news to be doing it. So no one knew how to do it.
Yeah.
And those programs have got better as well. Like they did put like Teams, Skype, and thingy, and different things. Like they all of a sudden went, oh my god! And they also had to spend a lot of attention, a lot of like time trying to improve these programs.
How was the final footage? Was like a bit of a lag between everybody? Did it ruin the comedy?
It was really hard because there were lags. And then you're having to and then someone would do a joke and they go, and then people at home just go. It's just
especially with no studios.
There's no audience as well. Right.
And I think they really felt that. It's hard because you really. One great thing about the show is the studio audience is huge. They really drive the record, and it creates a great atmosphere. So it was really notable not having that.
And it creates a different rhythm, doesn't it? When you have when you don't, when you have a studio, it's like with sitcoms when they have an audience, and sitcoms when they don't. There is a completely different rhythm with the script.
Well, there's a reason. Like even now, the chat show hosts use like telling people to clap because you'll find it funny because you're an ape. You find things funny if other people find them funny. It's like I've always said, if you watch them. Like,
please clap.
Yeah. But it's only because it literally
that guy, that senator. Yeah, I think was it. Can't remember his name now. Was it thingy? It was the other Bush, Jeb. Wasn't it?
Jeb Bush.
It's Jeb Bush, and he did this huge speech
known as the dumb Bush, which is saying something.
Dumb.
God. Well, anyway, get on to that. But like, and then he did this speech, and he just goes at the end. He goes, "Please clap."
Oh God!
And then everyone starts going, "Woo!"
USA.
Interesting enough, like George W. Bush. I recently saw a clip of him doing a debate. When he was the primary, I think it was presidential debate in 2004. And he's always remembered as the dumb president.
Yeah.
He's the dumb, oh my God, there's, no, that was Rumsfeld, isn't it?
What was the dumb president?
Yes. And then actually he's there having a discussion about this bill, about some finance bill. And they say, well, Article 3, yes, it has its problems, but if we've done some amendment with this, we're planning a table amendment with this, and we have backing in the Senate. So he's talking detailed-ish things about some finance bills and about immigration policy and about this and about that and about whatever milk policy. He's actually able to have conversations about this instead of saying, I will make all the good things good and all the bad things go away. And you just think, God, even in a couple of years, like our scale for stupidity and
there was just completely been turned upside down. And
what's the hang up? The rest is politics.
Yes.
They interviewed a guy on there because they were talking about the fact of when you said how stupid George W. Bush is, and now you think what we've got now. And he said after Trump, he said so the guy that they were both interviewing, this American journalist, he said, they got George Bush to go and do this speech. He's obviously known as being a dumb fella. And they got him out and said, right, so now you're the former president. And they come out and everybody's going, woo, yay, woo, clapping. And he said, the guy went up and he went to George W. Bush, he went up to the podium and went, he said, "Oh, you like me now, you motherfuckers." Didn't that you thought, I thought, oh, that's great. Now you're like,
oh, everybody looking at the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's like,
but just to say, you like me now, you motherfuckers.
Tony Montana giving that speech in the restaurant. You want to look at me and know what the bad guy is, huh?
Yeah, I've forgotten about that.
Also, quite ironic for Alistair Campbell to be talking about how dumb George Bush is when it's like, you did what he said, mate.
You're sort of
you were just little toady, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yo Blair.
Who
are the co-hosts that you do the podcast with? Have I got news for you?
In the news this week.
Yeah. Who are they? Are they comedians? They seem to be quite quick. Comedians first.
They will absolutely love that you've said that. They're not, but they're just very lovely. Well, they're very lovely, funny people. I say that. So it's myself, it's Jack Harris, who was a producer on the show and also a writer, and he now works. He sort of is a bit across this one and a bit across the American Have I Got News for You. He actually does do stand up. He used to be a secondary school teacher. He does this amazing stand up show about teaching. It's called Teaching Teachers How to Teach, which I keep telling him he needs to keep doing. He did it at the Soho Theatre. So genuinely funny, quick guy. And then Queenie Miller and Emerald, pastors at Emerald, writes on the show, and Queenie was a stills researcher on the show.
Oh, really?
And I think it's just one of those things where it lends itself to having funny, quick people on the team because you
worked together previously.
So
you bring it out because people relax more when
you know each other. And you know each other's little foibles, and you know how I can completely rag on Jack, and we're really good mates. So
when did you get involved with Have I Got News for You?
Great question. I've been doing it on and off for about a decade now. So I started. I was a researcher on it. Started out and then worked my way up to assistant producer.
Okay, so you've been involved with the whole.
And then producer, and then now I'm a series producer. Share the role with another series producer. So we do one series on, one series off, which is actually quite good because I think doing it all year round would be really depressing.
So what do you do?
Is it quite? Is there quite a lot of pressure then to sort of when you're doing a comedy show sort of a zeitgeisty comedy show like that, because where it's so sort of you have to really hit those that level every week. Is there a lot of pressure then
with the podcast?
Well, with both. Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah, I think with the podcast we were very keen to make it clear that we worked on the show and that we weren't trying to replicate it or be Ian and Paul, because nobody can really be Ian and Paul. They're incredible. They are what drives it. So we were like, well, how can we try and do something different that sits in that wheelhouse? So I think that takes the pressure off a bit, us being like, we're not comedians, we're not going to write jokes, we'll just try and be naturally funny.
Yeah, it came across as you're just taking a look at that show, you're not trying to be the show.
So and we're just saying, this is what we talk about if we're on this week. Also, here's a funny story about what happened one week, or with one guest. Or
I suppose there's always something stupid going on in the world in there. So
it's incredible.
Has anything gone really wrong on the show? Because it always seems like it's the model of this is how you do a TV comedy show. I mean, obviously the imperfections are taken out, but has anything gone really wrong?
I think generally no, because I think it is this impenetrable machine. And you've got people there's a huge number of people who've worked it for a really, really long time who are incredible at their jobs and know it back to front. And you've got Ian and Paul who they literally just come in. I mean, like, you work on other comedy shows and there's a lot of briefing, there's a lot of sending over information. Ian Paul literally just come in like an hour and a half before.
Yeah.
They'll make up dinner onto the show, and it's just like.
But it hasn't lost a beat.
You
like,
throw
it's
them.
still, you could put on the
Yeah.
next show and it's as good as the first show. Like there's nothing, it hasn't lost anything.
It does just, it keeps going. And like you said, there's never ever an end to people, politicians, people doing. It's like
that's right. Yeah, the content is always there.
It's like and it doesn't. I think that's the thing people as well sometimes don't understand. Is like they're like, but it's funny. People on the left are like, oh, you bunch of right wing poshos, and then people on the right are like, oh, you pinko commie bastards, And the truth is, it's just the what makes people good at working on the show and what makes Ian and Paul good is just going, we're going to ignore all that, and it's just like we're going to treat everyone with the same, all politicians with the same level of contempt that they deserve.
Perfect.
And it's true. It's like, look at Labour. It's like they come in and yes, they're not as bad as, they haven't been in long enough to make as many mistakes or be as incompetent or as corrupt as the last government was, but they're giving it a fair old go. And, everyone was saying, oh, you're not going to have anything to say for a while. And it was almost within like weeks, you're like, oh, great.
Was that riots?
Riots. All the free concert tickets, the shoes.
God, yeah.
Have you ever, the two hosts, they've always been on every show, haven't they? Have there never been a sickness or a broken leg where they just couldn't?
Ian's never missed a show.
Yeah.
I think Paul was ill for a while, missed a series. He missed a few
Who replaced
episodes.
him? Or did it come in as the series of his off air?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
How long's the show been going?
It's been going since 1990. So it's 35 years. So this time next year will be series. So we've just done series 68. Next series will be
series 68.
Yeah, this is what it is. Just like this. It's like this behemoth. And you come into it, and it's like I remember I've worked on a lot of different cool shows. I worked on things like Would I Lie to You? I've worked on The Apprentice. I've done all these other things. I've done 8 out of 10 cats, and you come in, but have I got news for you? Like, I grew up watching this. This was like Friday night staple.
Yeah.
And there's not many shows like that left now.
Always provides exactly what you want.
Yeah,
never lets you down.
So you really feel it coming into it. You're like, this is a.
Oh, and I've heard, hasn't that got the longest waiting list of any TV show to get on?
Oh, what?
The audience.
The audience. Oh, yeah. It's all. Let's say
like
that,
70 years or something like it. I think there was that and Top Gear that somebody said the other
people
day.
signing up their unborn grandkids.
Yeah, somebody said, he said, ironically, it would take about 70 years to get on the show. Like, you can't get onto it.
I like the idea that that's like some guy's been waiting for since series 1 and he's just getting in front of the queue now.
But they said it was that and then Top Gear. They were just off the chain. Like, forget it. Like, it's decades ahead. There's thousands of people that want to get on there. There's only something about a room.
But the viewing, it stands up. The viewing figures stand up as well. When other things are falling off a cliff, it's like it really holds its own, which is nice and good for my mortgage.
I was going to say it's also one of the few satirical things, one of the few comedy things sort of on currently. I mean, I think comedy has sort of
hasn't got in trouble either way.
Fallen off a cliff, to be honest, through multiple reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just not a lot like comedy movies. There used to always be that type of comedy, even if it wasn't your type of comedy, whatever, sort of dumb, the gross out thing or whatever, or silly comedy. Like they used to churn around in Hollywood. You used to see them in the thing. They used
Jim Carrey's, Adam Sandler,
Adam Sandler's, or your Will Ferrell's or whatever. And like you just don't really get those anymore. Like, and you don't really get a lot of comedy shows, and and satire is very
thin on the ground.
Yes,
it is thin on the ground. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's taking different forms now, but I think I think TV's in a funny place generally with what's being made, and there's a big squeeze. And I think stuff like comedy, like panel shows, which are in the middle in terms of they're not the cheapest to make. They require quite a lot of brain power. You've got to pay writers, you've got to pay good talent, you've got to hire a studio. So you can't make it on the shoestring budget that you can reality TV. But you're also not going to give it the £50 million budget that you're going to give like a Killing Eve, or it's not at the glossy end, or like a Traitors, which I absolutely love. So it's they've I think fallen in between the cracks in the middle, and it's also a lightning rod for criticism for the BBC or for the channels. So I think they're sort of damned if they do, damned if they don't to an extent. So I'd like to think that it's these things are cyclical and it'll come back round, but
hopefully, because it is strange that that well, I think it's good that they've shown a backbone and they've stood by it. When even things like Match of the Days become very politicized, to be honest, you know, like the football show, like all of a sudden, I don't watch that because of politics and stuff.
Yeah, it sounds obvious, but until you said it, I thought, that's what it is. It's no, they haven't aged because they showed the same level of disdain for all politicians. Like, it doesn't, never gone. You can't be accused of anything because they're banging them. They're all,
and that's all. That is literally all. And I think people don't believe it. But that's literally all we do. Come in and you go, who's done something stupid? Who's shown their ego? How can we prick it? Yeah. And it's like
they keep giving.
Yeah. And the show's like, it's like the kid at the back of the room saying stupid stuff and being a bit of a clown. There's
always going to be one. Where is it filmed? Is it London or Manchester?
It is in London. It's filmed at Riverside Studios.
Around the corner. Oh, where's
in Hammersmith.
Okay.
Yeah. So we used to be at the ITV studios, which was lovely on the South Bank. That was great. I felt.
How did that work? Hang on, it's BBC.
Oh, they all film at each other. So I think commercially, So the BBC studios in Shepherd's Bush will get a lot of ITV shows, Channel 4 shows.
Why are they not sort of like, I'm not helping them sort of thing?
I suppose it's just so free. Everything's so freelance. Everyone's just, you're never at one place for long. And I think maybe even commercially, they're like slightly separate entities. So it'll say BBC Studios, that'll be a separate company. So
right. I see what you mean. Right.
So you can be in
it's not everything at the BBC is in the BBC studios. No. It's being filmed all over.
Yeah. It's a real Wild West.
I was listening to one of the Goal Hanger. The other one. What's the rest? Is it not entertainment?
The rest is football.
It might be politics.
Entertainment.
No, I can't remember now. It was one of those. But the guy they actually said on it. He went, I mentioned the other podcast. Anyway, we've been told, we're not allowed to mention other podcasts. I thought, that's so shitty. Yeah. That is so weak. And he had a word for it that the producer said to him. It's called, selling another podcast. I thought, that's pathetic. That's like anti-podcasting. What are you taking away? Yeah. They're not going to go, there's only a certain amount of room for my day to listen to podcasts. I thought, but to actually say it. No, but I mean, it's not like I have to listen to all these podcasts and I cannot listen to.
You're going to switch off right now and go, I forgot that one existed.
He said, we're not allowed to mention other podcasts. I thought, that's such a shit. It makes you look bad.
I have a rule. If a film mentions another better film in that film, I stop watching that film and then I watch
you don't.
Film, do you?
You don't, do you?
Yeah. Because they're like, it's like that, like Jaws, and I'm watching some crap. I don't know. Well, and I'm just like, stop.
What if they do a line from it? If they do a little homage, like
that's what I was going to say. It's usually homages, and eventually say, stop reminding me about the other film because
that's fine. But overt references, like they show the film poster or they make a direct thing about that film, then I will stop watch because I'm like, why? I always just think, why am I watching this when I could be watching? Don't remind me that there are better things in the world.
Because Stallone and Schwarzenegger, they would always advertise the other actor in their films, wouldn't they? Yeah. So they'd like Schwarzenegger would go into a Blockbusters and there'd be Stallone as the Terminator on the wall.
Yeah. I got obsessed with. I was watching a film and they were showing a football game, it was like a Hollywood film, but they were showing a soccer game, like a football game in the background. And I got obsessed with it. I was like, is that Spurs? It's like they might be playing Watford. And I got very obsessed. And I was trying to I paused the film and tried to work out what the match was.
Yeah.
And then I went online. I was like, this is a great idea. And someone's already done it. There's actually like a social media site account where this guy just works out what football games are in films.
Oh God.
And it's incredible. He's like, it's like forensic level of working out what it is. It's really impressive.
I listened to a podcast the other day. They were talking about Christmas movies and that there's the formula. There's I think is it 9-part formula. They call them quadrants or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Where
quadrants.
You have to sit. Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, that was something else. Yeah. No, they were talking about films anyway, and they said there was 9 points that you have to hit for like these Hallmark type films.
Yeah.
And it is but it's like you forget how timed it is. So when they do Christmas, they say firstly there cannot be a single shot that does not have a Christmas thing in it. If somebody goes into a toilet, there has to be something up there. You cannot have a single shot that hasn't. You can't let off.
Christmas tree in the toilet.
Everywhere you have every shot has to have a Christmas tree. And they said that it was usually boy-girl thing, and it's always the rich person has moved away and they're this way, and they go back to their town, and their town is like somebody's trying to keep up a shop, and it used to be their ex-boyfriend. Yeah. And then they have to come together somehow accidentally. And they said roughly at around the 28-minute mark, they have to share an accidental kiss and then go apart again. And then eventually that rich person has to realise that, I just wanted to be here and use their talents to help the little shop. And they said, basically,
incredible. Imagine if they spend that much time and energy and
but
effort
they said
into
always
making
about
a coherent
quarter
script.
of the way in, the romantic relationship
plotline.
have to share an accidental kiss and then go there.
Wow.
I watch a lot of those films around Christmas, and they are spectacularly bad.
Are we related, by the way? I feel like we have
You never know.
the Venn diagram of our interests.
There was one I was watching, and I actually managed. I was like, "This is directed like." Okay, this is going to sound bad. This is directed like a softcore gay porn. And I was just like,
low music,
Is
low
this a
attention.
Richard? Is this,
And that's where the interest ends.
I read, not that I'm particularly into softcore gay pornography, but it looked like a Dick Chasen. Yeah, it's Dick Chasen. He did DB Cooper versus Bigfoot.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know what Dick Chasen was, and I suddenly thought.
But the name suddenly.
Yeah, it's self-evident. He's just into shirtless dudes. But he has these things where he can never get the actor. He does all these B movies as well. So it just terrible B movies and all types of crap. But also funds his real sideline of just filming shirtless dudes around his house.
So one bleeds into the other.
There's an overlap, let's say. So yes, because he had this film he did, and no one was ever in the same shot as anyone else. So I'm like, they obviously filmed this on separate days. Even so much, there were conversations with people on the same sofa. And I'm like, there's no wide shot here.
Right.
That's so jarring.
And it's like, and you're like, and then the camera wasn't set up properly, so you could see that the other actor wasn't in, because they were supposed to have been there, but they weren't. Yeah, they hadn't sort of blocked the scene properly. And I got just absolutely fascinated by this terrible film, because I was like, wow. Yeah. And everything's like filmed in a corner. Obviously a different corner. Like it just because no one was ever in the same room. No one was ever in the same building at the same time. And literally like pretty much every actor was filmed individually, and then they sort of edited this film.
Yeah, just kind
around.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Utter garbage, but fascinating in that sense. And the lighting was so terrible. The lighting, there's shadows everywhere. And I'm like, you couldn't even get like a light, like a thing.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
Oh, did you, our producer, get this? How old are you? How old are you, Sean?
33.
He knows what I'm going to. We just found out the other week he hasn't seen either of the Godfathers.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to be that guy.
Did you see Godfather?
No. I still got to watch the second half.
But last week he went to see The Terrifier 3. He put that before The Godfather. He promised us he was going to watch The Godfather, but he said he watched Terrifier 3.
Yeah, I watched that last night. It was good. I liked it.
Well, do you know what though? So my wife hasn't seen The Godfather either, and I keep ragging on her about it. And I keep saying you got to see it. And then we went to see. Have you guys seen the Barbie movie?
No,
I don't. Yeah. So in the Barbie movie, there's a bit where Ken basically, Ryan Gosling turns into a douchebag, and one of his big things is going around telling everyone how good The Godfather is, and you've got to watch The Godfather and mansplaining it to women.
Really?
And I was in the cinema with my wife, and she just went,
"Yeah, right, yeah."
And I was like, "Oh, that really." I will never slag anyone for not watching The Godfather anymore. I don't.
Well, that's every male to a girl. That's every.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I thought I was different.
Oh my God, you haven't seen Attack of the Clones. Right, we're stopping everything now.
The thing is, though, you're right to tell people to watch, but now they've ruined it. You can't be that person. You can't be the person to say, you've got to watch The Godfather. Oh, yeah, because you're like so-and-so.
Yeah.
I don't think you can big things up too much.
Yeah.
I was worried about saying that to Sean. I thought I didn't want to make it too, because you're going to go in there and go, oh, it's all right. But, it wasn't worth everybody having this.
Especially the end bit when it turns out it was all just a dream.
Yeah, it was all
Marlon Brando's a ghost.
They're talking about a fourth one again.
They were talking about a fourth one for about 30 years.
I think they were just trying to make what happened.
Don't worry, because Megalopolis made loads of money.
Right,
wait, no, it didn't.
Yeah, and also I love Al Pacino, but I just think he needs to stop now. It's just upsetting. It's like when one of your favourite footballers carries on.
Yes.
And you're like, I don't want to remember you like this.
His clothes are hanging off him with his skeleton underneath his...
But
the thing they're chugging along at Basingstoke Town, and you're just like, dude, you don't need the money. Come on, just...
Yeah.
Well, I thought, if you're going to do it, the problem is, though, if you are going to do it, you have to do it now, because in 20 years, everybody growing up would go, what's The Godfather? Do you know what I mean?
In 20 years, none of those guys will be alive.
No, but that's what I mean. You've got to catch the people now.
Most of them aren't dead.
Well, I'm probably saying 20 years. I could have said 10.
Robert Duvall's dead.
This is the last lot. Anybody under 30 is going to go, I don't care about Godfather. What's some gang? I prefer Casino.
Yeah.
First Casino. No, what was it, Goodfellas? But yeah, what gangster films have you seen?
No, I said Goodfellas.
Oh, it was you that said it.
Yeah.
You seen Goodfellas? That's respectable.
Yeah, I could just look him in the face again.
I do watch movies. I love
You
my
understand
Italian
cultural
American-
reference.
Yeah, exactly.
But, Joe, what's your favourite? How old are you?
I'm 25. My
Right, so
film
perfect. So go on, what's your favourite film?
is The Dark Knight, because I watched that when I was like 8 or 9.
Yeah,
in
it's
cinema.
quite trendy.
Yeah,
Wow.
I love that film. It's great.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
You watched that when you were 8 or 9?
yeah, I did.
I watched that when I was about 25.
Yeah. I don't want to say it.
Yeah, but I'm just like, I was like a old man. You know,
Do you
Yeah.
go to the cinema much? It's the work just doesn't allow for
I try to. I try really hard to. I find TV really stressful to watch because I find like you want to, especially if you're producing something or writing something, you want to have those cultural references at your fingertips. Like you need to know if you want to like talk about Saltburn or you want to, and people just boom, you instantly get it.
Right.
So you sort of have to, you end up feeling like you have to chase that and watch it. It's like, I feel like I have to watch The Traitors.
Somebody said in entertainment, you have to be entertained. That's part of your job is to be entertained by other people.
Yeah. But it does get a bit stressful because there's so much to watch.
Yeah.
So there's too much content.
That's the point with all the content. You've got to be on top of all the content, like online, and you've got to know all these people who they are.
Yeah. Oh, because like YouTube is coming through now, and everyone's like, "Oh, have you seen Spunky B?" Or something. And you're like, I don't know. I don't know who this guy is.
You haven't heard of him. He's the most popular guy. You go,
he's got 15 million viewers.
Yeah.
You're like,
Are you telling me you haven't watched the full 10-hour video of What Alt Hist's Of What Alt Hist's psychological episode that he put on? Basically.
What's the word you just said?
What Alt Hist?
Is this what it sounds like when I talk about Warhammer?
Yeah. Are you speaking alternative history?
Yes.
Oh, alt hist.
He was a weird little gremlin man who made alternative history videos and then decided to go anti-woke to make money. He then posted a 10-hour drug-fueled rant at the camera where he discussed about 7, 8, I think it's 10 hours. Yeah, about 7, 8 hours through. Where he said that he took loads of ayahuasca and stuff, other very strong hallucinogens, and spoke to Odin and went to hell and spoke to God, and God said that he was a prophet, and obviously, and I was waiting. I was like, is he going to say it's Jesus? Is he going to say it's Jesus? He didn't say he was Jesus, but he said he was a prophet.
So it's like the
but not in profit.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Ironic.
making money. He's making money. He's got, he's making.
Whenever I hear about hallucinogen, I can't help think of the South Park with the cat piss. When they have the cat piss and they start going on a thing.
Okay.
And they're riding on big boobs. You must have seen it.
Yeah, no, I have. Yeah, because that's just heavy metal, though.
What do you mean heavy metal?
The French film.
What's that?
It's cartoon. It's like a thing. It's like a sci-fi thing.
Oh, what they copied it?
Homage to that.
Yeah, because it was a comic. It's a comic.
Right.
You just switched off the South Park ep at that point and turned on heavy metal.
Yeah. That's the thing.
The
I
origins.
started watching that. Heavy metal's pretty good. It's like kind of the.
It's called heavy metal.
Yeah, it's kind of like the French 2000 AD. So it's kind of sort of adult. I say adult. He's kind of like angsty teen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
from that, but also like F you authority. And so anti-establishment and a bit like and a bit sort of horror and stuff.
The film version of Rage Against the Machine, basically.
Yes.
Do you remember when everybody tried to get Rage Against the Machine to be number one in the charts? Do you remember that?
Christmas number one. I think, did it make
it?
it?
What was it they were trying to... Oh, it was something to do with Simon Cowell. Simon Cowell was on the same record. Oh, there was somebody that was going to be a number one.
Yeah.
And it was just people had got sick of Simon Cowell's X Factor number one. So they said, right, we're going to pump a load of... It started off as a Reddit. You're talking about Reddit.
Yeah.
People said, let's put Rage Against the Machine and try and get it to number one. And it just grew. And it was annoying because Simon Cowell was tried to fight against it, and Rage Against the Machine went to number one.
It's the risk of the internet, isn't it? It's like Rage Against the Machine's Christmas number one through the internet. That's a good thing. Boaty McBoatface, that's quite funny. Brexit.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes we just shouldn't listen to what people want.
No, Trump is the Boaty McBoatface of America.
That's
exactly what it is.
Yeah, he really is. He really is.
And before him, Biden was. So
yeah.
swings and roundabouts.
You know, every now and again they say something Biden. I think, I forget he's still president. Like,
He's
still alive.
Yeah, you're like, oh god,
and president.
Put a bell on him or something.
Yeah, just see when he moves. Let you know.
He's like sort of, but he's
cowbell around his
To be
neck.
fair, he's like transcending. He's like Dr. Manhattan now.
Right. Okay.
Just sat in a room.
He's there, but
he's experiencing time all at the same time. He's like a 3-year-old.
Still got immense power. But
He's a 3-year-old. He's in a cabinet meeting last week. He's with Corn Pop. You know, it's all just everything is happening at the same time. Time is complete. It's a complete.
January's gone quick. Trump must be ready to go in office soon. No,
20th of January. I don't know if you saw Jimmy Carter's funeral the other week. So Jimmy Carter, former president, died, and they had the funeral. And so I when I'm not doing a show, I write the social media jokes for Have I Got News for You for the for the Twitter feed and stuff. And so I'm responsible if you didn't like that.
Yeah.
But we wrote one because it had like in the pew it had all the presidents sat together.
Yeah,
and everyone kept saying. So we just wrote at Jimmy Carter's funeral, the 4 living presidents and Joe Biden. All right. And it's just like he literally looks like it's probably.
I mean, you could start writing the articles now for Joe Biden. We missed the very sad his history of like what happened, just waiting for it to come out.
It's a long old history as well.
Yeah, because the guy goes back to like civil rights movement.
Yeah. Civil War.
Civil War.
I think it's his
the
civil
assassination of
Oh,
Lincoln.
right, I wasn't that clued in.
He's like a general with a beard, you know.
That was when he was middle aged.
He was old then, you know. Because I got some slaves, Jack. I'm fighting for the Union, but I still got all these slaves, and it's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, you're going to pull up some dirt from him. You got like a lot of content to go back to. Like, God, he's passed for a few decades. Where was he born in America? What part? Do you know?
I thought he was from.
I can't.
I thought he was from Philadelphia, but I think that's more where maybe that's where he was governor.
Delaware, wasn't he?
Or was it Delaware?
Around there, I think.
So heading into that, and when that kicks in, there's people leaving the States because they said they don't know what Trump's going to do on that first day, so they're just getting out just in case. You know, people that are married to people that aren't from the. And goes, you never know.
There's always all that talk. They're like, if the Labour,
no, I'm not talking about celebrities.
I know if Labour win, I'm going to leave the country.
He's not making it through his.
I'm
sorry. I'm so relaxed now. We've talked about.
Right, we always put a little bit of vodka in to relax.
Yeah. This is really nice. I'm just gonna. You guys just turn the lights off when you're ready. He's not making it through his full. I mean, look at him. Like, he's to paraphrase Frankie Boyle joke, he's got the life expectancy of full fat milk. You know what I mean? Like, the way that man's veins are 90% cheese whiz. Yeah. Like, he is not making it through the next.
Until he's completed his contract with Satan, the Dark Lord will not let him die. To be honest.
But what was the Senate?
He has to do his end of the bargain. He has to complete his end of the bargain.
But the legal system around him is all on his side. With the Senate, and so it's like he's not. He's got nobody wants to attack him. I mean, they've just let him off now, haven't they? The other day, didn't he? Yeah. They say, right, you can get away with your felony.
Well, that was extraordinary because they said what the judge said was he basically said, "You did this. You're guilty."
Yeah.
I can't pass judgment on you because legally. Now you're president, you have immunity, and that's been decided by the people. So it's sort of put in stone now.
There are 2 separate laws now because a felon has to come along with at least a fine minimum, and no, you're not getting anything with disqualifying it.
2-tier Biden. There we go.
But it's actually
it's not quite the same ring as 2-tier.
I don't think it's going to catch on. No, that's the trouble.
I think his kids will take over it, just become that dynasty. They're not going to because he can't leave politics. If he leaves politics, he's done. So he can't leave.
Yeah, his kids haven't got the riz. They don't have. His unique set of brain chemistry.
Yeah,
they're so dumb. His kids, aren't they? They're like, I think the only one who's got a brain cell might be Ivanka, and she's
distanced herself. She knows to push it.
Yeah.
These lot are going to be dead soon, and I'm fairly young, so I'm still going to be around.
Junior, who's just coked up, and just ranting at like 6 a.m. He does these TV appearances on Fox News, and he's like, "Ha ha!" News. Dude, get some sleep. Please.
I remember seeing Fox.
I don't need to see that at 6. Like, if I was watching that live, I'd be like, dude, I do not need to see someone who hasn't slept for 4 days. Like at 6 a.m. when I'm making my coffee, going to work. You know,
I can't. Somebody sends me ironic Fox News segments, and he's not into it, but he knows it annoys me, and he would send me stupid. And I remember when they talked about when Trump was trying to get in, or was it the midway terms, and they were going about the caravan. You remember that little month where they had the caravan, they come in, and Fox would go to where the Mexicans across the border and wait for like a small group to come through, and then just film that group, and then just keep replaying that video, like all these people going, well, hang on, there's nobody for like half a day, and
it's just frat boys coming back with loads of
dressed up.
Yeah.
But they sent one of their things down there on like the last day before the voting. It was Laura something from Fox, and she was just talking, and they'd given her a big bulletproof thing on to show like how dangerous it was, and it looked ridiculous. Big metal thing like that you'd see in like the UN
like
using.
bomb disposal.
We're just reporting from the.
That's great. That's the sort of thing I love. That's the great thing I love on Havoc News as well. It's like finding those.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily the story. It's like the way it's being reported. It's like, you're like this is. I mean, it's getting harder with America though because it's so.
You're being desensitized to the comedy aspect.
Yeah, like, if this was like an Armando Iannucci show, you'd say, "Oh, he's jumped the shark now."
Yeah.
You'd be like, "Oh, he's got like, there's no subtlety left.
Yeah,
there's nowhere to go because you're just like,
if you mock something, it's mocking itself, sort of thing.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Oh God! Right. What else do you do in your spare time? You got anything? Do you read certain books? Do you listen to certain music?
Do I listen
or
to
Warhammer just vacuums up?
Warhammer vacuums up. My wife says like it's suddenly it was like, and this is very important for anyone.
Yeah.
Because people say there's this whole thing that it's all like these nerdy single guys.
Yeah.
And to an extent it is, but my wife says she always says, "Oh, I didn't really realize what a big part of your life Warhammer was till after we got married."
God,
and that's important.
You thought it was ironic, or a bit of fun?
And then I moved it all in.
Yeah.
I was like, I dabble. Here's my paint kit. Here's my.
Do you have any kids?
Do
you have any kids?
Devoted.
We don't have kids.
Oh, I was wondering if you'd gone for using one of the names surreptitiously as your wife.
Oh, well, me. I mean, I don't have to say this, but we do try and there is a thing where we'll try and get me, James, and Tom will try and get Warhammer references into TV shows.
I was going to say,
as producers and writers, there's always the. I won't say there are some Easter eggs out there,
right?
But when you get one in, I mean, I try. So I don't even know James Cleverly, the Conservative MP. He plays Warhammer.
Oh right.
So he's put a couple of things online where he's played Warhammer. So I put on the Have I Got Any Few backing boards. We always have them people on doing stuff. I got the art designer to make James Cleverly like painting a Warhammer model.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, so that was.
I think you should try and out people on the internet. Like find people that actually like Warhammer and just out them online and have to quit their job and their marriage ends.
But it's gone. It's gone
that
beyond.
Much of a thing. No,
it's gone beyond.
So it was holding its own, but now it's sort of I suppose the Lord of the Rings thing must have helped when the nerdy thing started to be able to.
There've been some very successful video games as well come out. Some really big video games.
Oh right,
coming
okay.
out.
So it's all kept.
Yeah, so people have gone, but this is cool. What's all this about?
Genuinely,
and then they've kind of got into it.
And in a really nice way. It's like it's really diversified. So we go to a lot of like events and play tournaments and stuff, and you will just see more. It isn't just people who look like me there now. It's like there's a real diversity to it, and it's better for it.
And
it's nicer and it's more fun.
Is that who is the guy that started it still alive?
Yes, he's knighted. So Ian Livingston. He got out. He's got a really good book. It's his autobiography where he talks about it. It's really, really interesting about how he just sort of fell into it. And then he actually got out before it really went. I think once he left, they went a little bit more corporate in terms of structure and like strategy. And
does he do a lot of interviews?
Yeah, he does. He does some stuff on Radio 4 and he did they did the BAFTA games. He presented an award at that and did a speech at that. So yeah, he's really James got to meet him. I was really jealous. He writes for he was writing for I think Phil Wang was presenting it and he was writing for him. So
for years I've been waiting to find out what it is, and now I feel like I know what it is.
I say give it a go.
Do you go to any of the shops?
I go to the shops. I mean, you can. I tend to get a lot online because you can get it cheaper,
right?
And then it's just and also because then I can get it delivered to work and sneak it into the house.
Do you in your comic book shops? Do they have any Warhammer things? Does it cross over with comics, or is it two different complete industries?
No, he has.
There isn't a Warhammer magazine.
He has some sort of models and stuff and toys. No, mostly toys and stuff. And anime things, i.e. stuff I don't know what it is. Right. You know,
it's a slippery slope. It's a dark. It was a real dark. Every now and again, you go into a corner of the internet. You're like, oh, I don't like that.
If someone's talking about something and I'm not sure what it is, it's probably anime, basically. That's my rule of thumb. I'm like, I don't. They were going, senpai. Oh yes, and I'm like, they have all these things. And I'm like, okay, I don't.
Have you seen the Matrix dressed guy in your comic book shop? Remember, you said the guy dressed as the Matrix or Enzo, whatever.
No, there was the Jedi guy.
Oh, the Jedi he was. Right, yeah.
There were multiple Jedis.
He said something about his hair. What was the thing you told me about him? What was the story? You brought him up once. Was it? Oh, is it two people had the same hair? Oh no, I'm confusing the geeks.
No.
Yeah, I'm
Confusing.
No, I don't mean that.
You're crossing the streams.
No, there's somebody else in America I know listening to Wisconsin, and he went in there once, and he said, yeah, they tried to make themselves look like somebody, and he said they clearly like just got annoyed because they both dressed the same, and they said they never spoke for years just because they knew they both liked exactly the same thing. Sorry, I pushed all you lot together. We'll end on this, but have you got anything? What else do you do? Like comedy writing? You're producing anything else that's on for your own?
Yes, I do. I'm writing comedy as well, so I'm writing scripted comedy. So I've got a sitcom in with Radio 4 at the moment, so that's exciting. So I'm writing that.
What's that based on that you can
projects. Say? It's I don't know if I can say it actually.
Okay, right.
Okay.
But at the moment, which is so that's a really
just
good
for
topic
radio?
Well, it's BBC Comedy and Radio 4 doing a sort of a joint commission. So the idea is you put it on Radio 4 and see how it does. So it's almost like we're piloting it, and then if it does well on there, then the idea is they move it across the TV.
Yeah.
But so just they've commissioned the script. That means so we're writing a script at the moment.
And is you co-write it?
It's me writing it, and I'm really lucky. I've got Sean Pye script editing it. So he's legendary comedy writer who writes on If I Get News For You, wrote There She Goes, the BAFTA award-winning comedy with David Tennant. He basically he writes for everyone and everything, and he's brilliant. He's also he played the rival in Extras, Ricky Gervais' rival in Extras.
That guy.
Yeah. So he's been. I took the idea to him and said, "Look, I've got this idea," and I'm sort of like, "Script is not." So he was like, "Look, I'll script edit it for you," and he's been amazing and helping and shaping it and showing me the.
What's that guy's name? The rival? What's his name in real life?
Sean Pye.
Oh, Sean Pye.
Lo, the check doth cometh in the post.
I never forget
what to do is sign on.
In Extras when is it the girl gets drunk or his ex-girlfriend gets drunk and she goes up on stage and he says one told the other one that his Ricky Gervais' ex-girlfriend looked like what was it called, Ronnie what's his name,
Ronnie Corbett.
Ronnie Corbett. And Ronnie Corbett's there and she goes suddenly fucking Ronnie Corbett, and it cuts to Ronnie Corbett and he just goes like this. And then Sean Pye walks around to Ricky and he goes, and it's good night from me.
So good. so good.
Yeah. But the way they just cut to Ronnie Corbett, he's like, ooh. Oh, yeah, in that, doesn't he? They find Ronnie Corbett doing cocaine in the toilet.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a merchant. Yeah.
Right, anyway, so more laughter, more comedy.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to push Warhammer into a writing, scripty, content-y?
They really look after the IP of it, but I think it's very protected. But never say never. In the future, I'd love to sort of go into that and break into that. I think I'm trying to sort of go more towards the writing. So
Can you watch people play it on YouTube?
You can, and people do.
I should have done that. Yes. I should have had a look.
Yeah, I think it's a particularly dull way to consume it, but I would say if you're Warhammer curious. Listen to.
Well, I'll tell you what. Somebody said the other week they were talking about with Thor, when all that started to come out, when it originally came out, and people said that a lot of people have been going vi-curious.
I was just going to say, I could watch you just watching some painting videos for 3 hours, thinking,
technically,
I hope this doesn't awaken something in me.
I genuinely feel like we keep coming back to it. I'm
just fascinated by small groups of people that have stuck with something over the years,
and it eventually got popular.
Yeah, that's it.
It's going to. Honestly, next few years, it's going to become huge.
I'll come here in a tight Warhammer t-shirt.
Yeah.
What now? What now?
Everyone,
2.0, Warhammer 2.0.
Honestly, slowly pivots into a Warhammer podcast.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about the old founder getting him on, and I thought, oh no, I might be pushing it too much. Right, well, listen, thank you very much for coming in. It's been great to get you on. Sorry about the last couple of months. We were just so chaotic with everything going on, but we find that I said he's a nicer guy because he's still coming in after the mess around.
Oh, no, and then I messed you around last week.
Yeah, it was all, and I was sick.
Don't worry at all.
Listen,
great.
Anything you want to say, Charles?
Thanks.
No, I know what you want to say. You want to thank our sponsor, Cure Oxygenated Water. I mean, you've got that down like anything. Look at that. That's
I know.
gone,
I feel oxygenated now.
Exactly, and it's nano. So thank you to Cure for sponsoring the show. Charles, you've drunk. Look, you're fantastic.
Yes.
We'll give you one to take away if you want. So that's it, and we will see you next week. All I say is, Elon, if you want an aftershave line, you're calling it Elon's Musk. Thank you.